It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
I want this on video.
This arrest during a morning walk is one that John Sexton said violated his rights and traumatized his 6-year-old.
He's been a cop for Halloween for the last 2 years. That's what he's been wanting to be when he grows up. That's what he says, and now he's scared of him.
OSBI is still investigating the use of force case, but in the meantime, viewers have sent KOCO 100 messages, emails, and phone calls, complaints, and other cases involving one of those officers.
It's just sad that it's taken so many years.
And we're not the only ones.
We've had over 200 phone calls this weekend.
While it's not his department, the Blaine County Sheriff is calling for both officers involved to be taken off the streets while OSBI works its case, concerned for the community.
I can understand why they feel the way that they do, because of hearing that child scream is one of the hardest things.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we just watched a video of 2 Oklahoma City police officers arresting a father who was only guilty of one thing: walking early hours at night with his son.
It was actually in the morning.
That's early hours.
Okay.
And it's still nightfall.
Okay.
That time of morning, sir.
Okay.
He was only guilty of walking with his child who's autistic, who was really on a stroll with his dad. This is a child that wants to be a police officer when he grows up. We saw evidence of that on his little school paperwork where he wrote he wants to be a police officer when he grows up. And if you know anything about children diagnosed with autism, they are very fragile children. But for those cops to ignore the fact that he was with his son, there was no call that came in that suggested criminal activity, criminal conduct, and then they asked the man for his ID, all because he's walking around in the early morning hours that looked suspicious to them. When they spoke to him, he wasn't drunk, he wasn't high, he had nothing on him that looks like he had committed a crime with his child. How much more do we have to see with these bully cops being out of control? This is nothing more than bully cops being out of control. They should be fired, and they should be arrested for assaulting this gentleman in the presence of his son.
Well, I will tell you, so this is Watonga, northwest Oklahoma, Blaine County. We heard from the Blaine County Sheriff, who, in that news clip, who suggested the reason people are so upset is because of the wailing of the 6-year-old child who has a diagnosis for autism. But I think a number of people are upset because they've seen the whole video, which is out there, the whole body cam. The body cam begins with, and I guess it's you know, in the pre-dawn hours as the sun is rising. I would call that morning, not night. But apparently it's a daily constitutional that the father takes with the child. It's in their neighborhood, it's where they live, they walk. And you know, who knows, maybe they've had some thefts. It looked like there were some industrial buildings there. But the beginning of the engagement is somewhat abrupt. The cop is just driving, he pulls up, he asks the man what he's doing, he responds that he's taking a walk, he asks for his ID, the man refuses, which is your right to do. This isn't the Gestapo, this isn't Nazi Germany, you don't have to carry your papers, this isn't authoritarian China, this is America. And the man refuses, and then he says, well, he's going to detain him for failure to ID. The problem is the Supreme Court has been very clear on that failure to ID. You have to have some predicate, some reasonable suspicion for the detention, and merely walking with a child, especially a young child, in your own neighborhood does not meet the very low bar of reasonable suspicion, which is lower than
but
probable
this is
cause.
Just bully cops who have continuously become even more out of control. Now Donald Trump is saying that he's going to give these cops immunity so they can, quote unquote, do their jobs. That's not doing your job. That's violating people's rights.
I don't disagree that this individual needs to be fired. I think that, but
both
here's the
cops.
thing. When you talk about how bully cops is just getting out of control, this is where you're wrong, right? We know what happened in this instance because of the mandatory body cameras of that police department. And we need more accountability, more transparency, more consequence.
But it seems like the body cam cameras are not changing behavior.
That's absolutely not true. We have far more restrained police in America right now. In fact, to the point where the pendulum is swung too far the other way.
In what way? In what way?
Because cops don't respond to crime anymore. And you hear this
So what you're saying, if they can't commit crimes, they won't fight crime.
If we don't fight crime,
so if they can't commit crimes, then they won't fight crime. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Maybe
because exactly what you're saying.
Maybe instead of interrupting me, you should pay attention. You might learn something.
That's what I'm hearing, Charles.
Well, I don't know because I didn't speak any of those words.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Maybe you're listening to the little imaginary voice of idiocy in your head. They're not going to fight crime
anymore.
No.
Because they're being held accountable for committing crimes?
Absolutely not. I didn't say that. In fact, I think many cops have become incredibly apathetic, and they took an oath, and they need to go back to doing their damn jobs, right? But we have this bleeding where people want to abolish the police. They want to defund the police instead of paradigmatically fixing policing, which the cameras are doing, right? So now we have, let's say you call the police for an ongoing criminal incident, a violent assault here in Houston. Maybe they show up 2 hours later, right? In Austin Police Department here in Texas, they often don't show up at all.
So the cops are throwing a hissy fit.
Right.
Because they're being held accountable, the cops are throwing a hissy fit, making it look like crime's out of control because they don't want to fight crime anymore out of fear that they'll be held accountable for committing crimes.
Crime is out of control, and in fact, it's the liars who hide the crime. We have now roadblocked the ability to report crime, that it's so difficult to report that people give up, and then the left says, oh, see, there's no more crime.
I agree with some of that.
Crime is absolutely out of control, and we know that by the corporate reports of theft, right? Theft, I think, went up another 24%, billions. I think maybe it was $24 billion. I don't have this the thing in front of me, but theft is out of control. But of course, most small businesses don't report it because cops don't arrest people.
You know what the problem is, Charles?
We need more policing, but we need better policing.
We
don't need your nonsense.
We need more good cops.
Let's just do away with all the police.
No, I don't believe in that.
You've been saying it for years. You've been marching it for years.
I've never said that. What I want is more good cops to stand up publicly and condemn the bad ones.
So
we need more good cops to be out front and center, calling out the bad ones and letting the people know we good ones got your back against the bad apples that are among our ranks. We don't see that, Charles. We don't see that.
They're getting more aggressive. In fact, the argument is they've gotten so much the other way that they're just keeping their windows up and ignoring crime like a bunch of petulant babies. What we need, this guy needs to be fired. We need accountable police.
He should be arrested.
And we need, I don't know, he needs to be fired.
Throw that man to the ground and do that. That's an assault.
And we need to get back to cops doing their damn jobs on victim crime.
I swear to God,
Look, I'm getting all this on tape.
Get out of the car!
Look, he pulling a gun.
Jack,
this for
Jack, get that on video. Get out of the car. She took off on me. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Go yourself. Get out of the car.
Look, Father God, you dispel this evil in Jesus' name!
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. I am a law enforcement officer. Get out of the car. 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 Get out of the car!
No, you assaulted me. I know my rights. You assaulted me. You screamed from your hair! Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me! This man is... Help me! Help me! Help me!
Give me your other hand.
No!
Give me your other
Stop
hand.
it! Mom, get my phone! This man is hurting me. He's assaulting me. He wouldn't show me his badge. He would not show me his badge.
I can't believe this is happening in front of my face, Jesus.
This man assaulted me. Get off me. Get off of me.
Be quiet.
I know my rights. Help! Help! I'm being assaulted.
In this round, Here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Well, talking about cops, here we go with another story. Okay, that was West Virginia Montauk City police chief named Nathan Lanham had pulled over a woman named Beth DeLoma. Now, this was not body camera. This was not dash camera. This was some third party filming. We heard her calling for Jesus. That, you know, this could be, you know, I know your opinion. We talked about it briefly. You think this is horrible. This could be one of two things, right? It could be an entitled Karen, if you'll listen, when he said she drove off on me, right? So this could have been an entitled Karen on a traffic stop who just decided she was going to take off, and he had to chase her down. Obviously, he was very angry. I did not like the curse words he was directing at citizens that weren't involved. I didn't like the level of agitation he had. But if you're on a traffic stop, someone can't just roll up their window and drive off, right? That's a crime. You have to interact with the police if they validly stopped you. But what we don't know, you know, this tiny little town, police chief out there on patrol, looking like he thinks he's Rambo. We don't know if he was in a police car. We don't know what the predicate to the encounter was. It appears that this woman asked him for his badge, although he did very clearly have a police uniform on, one of those casual things that we didn't have back when I was a cop. So there's some real questions, but there's no question that he shouldn't have been using that sort of language, that he could have probably de-escalated without smashing the window and just waited for other police officers to arrive, because obviously something happened between them. And then once she got out of the car and refused his direction, he was probably justified in taking her to the ground and handcuffing her. But he seemed to be far, far too aggressive and far, far too angry. So before we indict him, I think we do need to know what happened before, right? Honestly, if it was a valid traffic stop and he was in a well-marked police car and she just rolled up her window like an entitled Karen and took off, then she might have brought some of that on herself, Quanell.
Charles, let me say this. What we saw in that video makes me very suspicious of the initial encounter, because if his conduct resembled anything of what we just saw in that video in the initial traffic stop, I don't blame that woman for taking off to get to a place of safety. When you look at how fast this man went from 0 to 100, I'm very suspicious and concerned about his conduct in the initial traffic stop. Also, I'm concerned that there's no body cam when he should be wearing a body cam.
We don't know if there's no body cam. Might just not have been released yet.
Let's reserve what happened in the initial traffic stop.
Right.
But this man's behavior was crazy. This was a bully cop out of control. Gets out of his car. He's sitting there yelling at a neighbor, F yourself. Go F yourself. Right. Then he's saying the same thing to the woman in the car. Then he violates police protocol. They teach police officers, you don't bust a window with your handgun. You don't bust windows with your handgun. You don't do that.
No, apparently he used some sort of device.
No, he was hitting it with his gun. He pulled his gun out and was hitting it with his gun.
The reporting is saying it was a device.
Watch the video. Then put the gun back in his holster, comes back with a sledgehammer. Then he busted the window with a sledgehammer. This man is insane. While cursing and yelling profanities at the same time. Then the way the force he used to throw that woman to the ground was way too aggressive. Then when he got on top of her, Charles, she was handcuffed. Then you see him take his hand and shove her neck into the ground. Then move it up to her ear and twist her ear and pushing her head on the ground at the same time while he's twisting her ear. That was a sick cop. And we are sick and tired of seeing out of control, crazy as hell, bully cops. Once again, where are the good cops?
Okay.
Will they please stand up and send a message to these bad ones, enough is enough.
Here's my point, though. Okay, so back in the day, in the early 90s, Rodney King, right? The only reason there was accountability for those officers that beat Rodney, right? And, again, in the Rodney King incident, he got in a high-speed chase. He fled. They had every right to use force to take him down, right? They did not have rights to use force on him after he was prostrate on the ground and they just stood over and beat him. And that's the line. But what's important and different between 2024 and 93 or 92 is the fact that body cameras are so prevalent. I think they should be federally mandatory.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
absolutely.
Here, let's say there was not a body camera.
And
we don't
federal
know.
officers don't wear them.
Well, you know, it's repugnant. It's absolutely absurd. Every officer in a uniform that is not undercover, should be required to be filming while he's interacting with the public in any way, especially on warrant services. You never see him on warrant services. But this officer, if it weren't for this third party filming, we may not have known whatever if he didn't have a body cam. He could have gotten away with it. Now, we don't know. We don't know if she was just entitled and drove off, rolled up her window.
No, but what we do know,
there are plenty of,
what we do know, he had short man pot-belly syndrome.
Okay, I don't
he had
know.
short cop pot-belly syndrome. That man's belly was hanging down there to his knees and looked like he on the way to the donut shop, the fried chicken spot, and he was a short cop with short man pot-belly bully cop syndrome. That's what it was.
I mean, you're all like 5'5", so I don't know where this is coming from.
Oh, no, see, you wrong now. I am 5'10 and a half, sir.
10 and a half, okay.
5'11".
With heels on,
5'11".
10 and a half.
With heels, I'm 6'6'1".
Okay. Anyhow, I didn't say platform stripper heels. Come on, Quanell.
I wouldn't know how male strippers look with platforms on. But obviously you do.
Okay.
Obviously you do.
I'm a grown-ass man.
Obviously you do.
But let's get back to this. We don't know what the predicate, but we do know that a cop that allows himself to get this emotional in a situation that wasn't that emotional. Nobody was shooting at him. There was no allegation she tried to run him over. At worst, she drove off in the middle of the traffic stop, which you shouldn't do if she did it. But this cop, if he can't control his temper,
he gonna kill somebody.
If he's getting this big angry
he gonna kill
over
somebody.
this nonsense,
he gonna kill somebody.
He got no business wearing a badge. But this is the why we need cameras. And if it's over, if it's all downstream from a little bitty ticky-tack traffic stop with what you see in these little bitty towns, often the smaller the fiefdom, the bigger the ego.
Take that badge off of him. Take that badge off of him and take that gun off his waist. Take that mace off his side, that nightstick and taser. He a straight punk.
Well, we don't
guarantee
know.
you.
We don't know him.
I guarantee you, pull that badge off, pull off that taser, that gun, and pull away from the license to do what he do. He wouldn't dare act like that in public with nobody. He would be a coward. All of a sudden, them cowards get them badges and get that police sticker behind their chest, and all of a sudden now they come RoboCop and Incredible Hulk. But in high school, they was cowards, nerds, damn near gay.
Or now you got to be homophobic.
Damn near gay. Hiding behind the stairway.
Let me give you the four. I can break down most cops, not all, but most into four categories, right? You have police officers that are in the family business of policing. Like their parents are police officers, so they become police officers, which is a significant portion. Then you have the genuine, sincere public servants, people like me who were driven to a period of public service because you actually get a personal sense of reward for doing things for your community. Then you have the remaining two bad categories, right? You have, as you mentioned, I don't know why you had to throw a dash of homophobia in there, but you mentioned you have
they was real sissified in school.
You have the people.
Get that badge, become RoboCop.
You have the people that were bullied growing up and see this as a vehicle to be a bully. Then you have the people that were just all the worst of the worst. They were just always bullies. They grew up bullies, then they became bully cops.
I went to school with a couple of them, Charles. I went to school with a couple of them, Charles. They were so scary. They would walk around the house so quiet, you couldn't hear a rat piss on cotton coming from them. But all of a sudden, put that badge on them, put that gun on their hip, they Superman.
I agree, but we don't know this guy. But we
you can look and tell what that was about.
Anytime I see a man manhandle a woman like that,
coward.
When it wasn't necessary, it's disgusting.
Coward.
Ow! My shoulder!
You want that cup of coffee?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna help you get some.
How do I do it now? Slow. Just walk as fast as you go.
There we go.
You said potato, I said potato. Donald Trump 2024. Or Joe Biden, I don't mind. I'm the new generation. Everything this guy. It's out here. Ow! My shoulder.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, I have to be honest with you, Charles. And I watched that video of that gentleman having a mental and psychological breakdown, allegedly after eating edibles, that I would hope that someone within his family or friendship circle who was aware that he had been using edibles, that they saw the telltale signs and would step in to help him with some type of intervention. those edibles are not just natural weed anymore. I've really rarely ever seen natural weed make people act the way I've seen edibles make some people act. And so if you really care for a person as a friend and care for them as a family member, if they're taking edibles, say something. That's why I've worked very hard on this show, Charles, to try to produce an intervention for you, to help you go into recovery, to help you come away from those edibles that you be dealing with. Because them edibles that you take when you come up in here, have you saying some of the most outlandish, crazy shit that somebody could say. I'm here for you. I am your friend.
Is this an intervention?
We love you, Charles.
Okay.
You can beat this. Okay. You can do it, Charles.
Okay, first of all,
we believe
marijuana
in you.
Typically not considered to be addictive. This was Eric Nicholas Gabko, 26 years old, who ate 10 edibles apparently and lost his fool mind and did not know because he got high, because he got high, because he got high. And then he acted a fool. He got arrested, federal custody, federal charges. This man has changed the trajectory of his life because he can't handle his business. Now, I don't disagree that they are creating very, very powerful marijuana products, but I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. Here's my thought. You saw about 3 years ago in the Pacific Northwest, you saw a real push, I think both in Seattle and Portland, with local government and state government, to create this new defense to prosecution when you commit a crime because you're high. And that's absolutely insane. They're trying to make it analogous to, loss of loss of your mind, the insanity defense. If you choose to ingest a drug and you act the fool, then you should be arrested for whatever foolish stuff you did. Just like when you choose to drink, you can't blame, I drove because I was drunk and I didn't make a good decision. Now that's stupid. It's drinking and driving, you have a consequence.
People know how powerful alcohol is, though.
But people know how
powerful alcohol is.
That's why we should legalize
People don't know how powerful edibles are.
If we legalize
these edibles are legalized.
Not all of them.
These
that's
edibles,
the problem.
Look here. These edibles,
if you legalize them and
they are very strong, a lot of them.
I will tell you. I'll be honest.
Be honest.
I'm gonna be honest. Let's talk. So I was in Palm Springs, right? And I went to a very fancy, wealthy person, Palm Springs dispensary. We talked to the bud tender out there in California, and I said, back in Texas, I like these drinks, right? I don't like to smoke it. Let me get some drinks, but I've had these.
You wasn't in Crenshaw when you got this drink.
No, I was nowhere near. I was in Palm Springs.
Okay, all right.
And
not Watts or Compton.
I said, hey, not Watts or Compton. I said, well. And he said, I got this real good stuff. I got 4 flavors. I said, well, give me 4 bottles, right? So I go back to my resort.
4 bottles.
I pop one open. I drink, take a little sip, tastes just like juice. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The steakhouse and resort out there, it's beautiful. I walk there while I drink the whole bottle. I'm going to tell you, Quanell, I should have read the label. Because what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to take a little lid, pour it in there, and put it in a drink, like hard liquor. It didn't taste like hard liquor. It was 1,000 milligrams, Quanell. I felt like Hunter S. Thompson driving across the dang California desert to Vegas. My face was sliding off. But did I attack anybody? Did I act the fool? No, I just asked the waiter to please box up my food, put the meal on my room charge, threw on a 25% tip. I know you don't know nothing about tipping, but we'll talk about that someday.
No, I know etiquette of tipping. And then I'm a black man that knows the etiquette of tipping.
I know how you treat waiters. I'm not talking about your race. I'm talking about you.
Oh,
right?
stop.
So then I moved my rear end back to my room and I went to sleep. Nobody got excited. I woke up in the morning. I was at the gym. That's the beauty of marijuana, Quanell. No hangover.
Charles, every drug addict
can't cancel
does
marijuana.
not admit that they have a problem, Charles.
Come on.
You got to come out of denial, and you have to admit that you're powerless over your addiction, Charles.
We cannot cancel
Charles,
marijuana
come out of denial.
because one idiot can't handle his edibles.
That you're powerless over your addiction.
I'll
Let
tell you
us
what.
work with you, Charles.
Quanell.
The edibles, the
Quanell.
liquids, and whatever the hell else you take it, has created a problem, Charles. We want to save you. You about to be Martin Downey Jr.
Okay, that was heroin and cocaine.
Charles, I'm concerned about you,
This is
Charles.
marijuana, which is a much better drug than
you
than
about to
alcohol.
be Martin Lawrence running around butt naked in California.
Poison. Everyone should be using marijuana, and alcohol is what should be made illegal, but whatever.
Okay.
I know we're joking around about this guy going crazy on a plane. I feel very strongly about the war on drugs and the need to abolish it. And I'm not talking methamphetamine or fentanyl, but I'm talking about even cocaine or heroin or opioids, and creating a space where people can go buy these from the government and be taxed. Because really the truth about the war on drugs that was facilitated by the Rehnquist Supreme Court in the 80s is that it's been used as a vehicle to oppress people of color. It's been disparately enforced. George W. Bush, he was a notorious weed guy and cokehead, but he did it at Yale. He did it at fancy places where there weren't police trying to ruin people's lives. And we've seen so many black Americans have the course of their life destroyed because they were caught with a usable amount of drugs. We need to end the drug war. We need to let people have individual liberty and make their own bad choices. And when they do, they can accept the consequences.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I think we should do is to make police officers and school teachers some of the highest paid people in society. The reason why we have a problem, one of the reasons with these cops, is they pay them such cheap wages, they're hiring from the very bottom of the barrel. Let's make them some of the highest paid employees in the country, and I guarantee you a lot of this abuse will stop. But at the same time, we have to do something about these edibles in America. Some of this stuff that they selling, this ain't natural weed. I remember natural weed. This ain't no natural weed they selling.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.